Hello, and welcome to create a no-code Azure chatbot for use in Microsoft Teams, Outlook, and SharePoint. My name is Michelle Gilbert, and I am a Microsoft MVP, along with being a collaboration solution architect. Today's agenda, we're going to focus on learning how to create a chatbot, adding it to Teams, Outlook, or even SharePoint. We will focus on the information chatbot, leveraging AI to answer questions and improve knowledge sharing. You should leave this session with instructions on how to build the bot, and no developer skills are required. So why chatbot? Now, what's the popularity? Employers are finding a lot of value in improving the ability for employees to communicate to different departments, such as customer service, HR, engineering, and IT. Within this session, we're going to focus on Office 365 and the frequently asked questions your employees may have and how you implemented the products and services. So being able to go to a chatbot and ask it specific questions will be our focus for today. So let's start focusing on terminology. Chatbots have been known to be called SmartBot, ChatterBot, Conversational Bot, but the main focus here is learning that it's a conversation via auditory or textual methods. A knowledge base, collection of information about a particular subject, really supporting collecting, organizing, retrieving, or sharing knowledge within your organization. Now, an Azure chatbot is really Microsoft's AI chatbot offered as a service in the Azure Cloud Service Marketplace. Offers ability to add intelligent agents. So here's an overview of what is a Microsoft bot framework. You've got your bots, your bot connector, and your channels, which is where you're going to display your chatbot. What are chat channels? They're really common everyday channels within your life. SMS, it's going to be a text reminder of a doctor appointment. Email can be tracking from UPS, FedEx, or Amazon. And we all know telephone. Telemarketers, telephone directories are your organization that we receive every day. So what are the common Azure Bot Service scenarios? There's common commercial chatbots, Internet of Things devices, and information chatbot. We all know these by our everyday communication within our house, for instance, with Alexa, or understanding service and conversational interfaces for banking. Today, we're going to focus on the information one, which is really that user defines a knowledge set or FAQ to answer questions with cognitive services. So that's going to be a knowledge sharing specific to a subject that you can add your questions to and also your answers. We're going to do that with Q&A Maker. So Q&A Maker is really your cloud-based API service, creates a conversational question and answer layer over your data and integrates it with Azure Bot Framework. So it really enables you to create a knowledge base from your semi-structured content, such as a frequently asked question, can be a URL, a product manual, and so forth. So let's talk about architecture for a second. There are several layers to creating this, and I outline here how we're doing it today. On the bottom, you've got knowledge base, then the KB endpoint, the bot platform, and the chat channels we're going to focus on. So within the knowledge bases, we can really grab an FAQ, a product manual, could be a PDF, support guides in our Word documents, papers, brochures, whatever to create the chatbot. So let's go ahead and begin. 1, we are going to create a Q&A Maker service in Azure. 2, create and publish a knowledge base. 3, create a web app bot in Azure. And 4, connect our bot that we just created to channels such as Teams, Outlook, and SharePoint. So the requirements to create the Azure chatbot, we're going to need an Azure subscription, so we can do that with a free account. We do need to have an Office 365 subscription, Q&A Maker, which is also a free account, and then we need some sort of knowledge base, frequently asked question, whether it's a PDF. In this case, we're going to use a base URL canned from Microsoft. All right, let's go ahead with the demo. All right, step 1, create a Q&A Maker service in Azure. So we want to go ahead and open up Azure, go into All Resources and click Add. The next thing we want to do is we want to do a search within the marketplace for Q&A Maker. So right now we're creating our Q&A Maker service within Azure. All right, you can go ahead and select a software plan and click on Create. Now here you're going to see a list of fields. Fill in the required fields. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and say M365 Q&A and Demo. I can select the subscription I have. I'm fine with my pay-as-you-go. Pricing tier, I always recommend that you use the F0 because that's going to be your cheapest one, and that's going to be where you'll learn how you want to scale your new service. So again, F. And then searching location, you usually want to create the location that's nearest your organization. And go ahead and hit Create. So it takes about 10 seconds or so to create. Validation successful. And then go ahead and click on Deployment in Progress. And this is going to be in your notification window within Azure. By clicking on that, you can watch what services are being built, when they'll be complete. So as you see here, deployment is underway. Status is okay on the services you've created. All right, and there you are. Deployment has succeeded. So that took about 40 seconds for it to build all the services that you're going to see below here. It's pretty incredible how quick just creating that Q&A service is. But then what you get out of that is quite a lot of services that are going to be connected to your chatbot. All right, so to go ahead and take a look at that, click on your resource group. You see Q&A demo right there. Once you open that up, you'll see you've got several services here. You've got cognitive service, an app service plan, app service, application insight, and a search service. Let's go ahead and do the second step, creating a knowledge base in Q&A Maker website. Go out to qandamaker.ai. This is a Microsoft product where you can create a knowledge base and then connect it back to your Azure Microsoft service. So here we have already done step 1, as you can see. I prefer to do it first in Azure as opposed to doing it here. So then I can just bypass step 1, go to step 2, and already select my Azure Directory ID, my subscription name, and the Q&A service that I just built. Then I can skip ahead to step 3, name my knowledge base, and I want to call it Office 365 FAQ. Now the next step is what I mentioned earlier, is populating your knowledge base. Today we're going to focus on creating a URL to connect to your KB. This one's already been canned for us within Microsoft. So this is an Office 365 FAQ that's already been pre-built. Now, of course, you're going to want to modify it as to how you implement it. But here you can also add a personality to your chit chat, your Azure bot. I'm choosing professional in this case. So step 5, really a simple button, create your knowledge base. Right now, it's going into that FAQ URL from Microsoft, reading all the questions and all of the answers, and then pre-populating that into your knowledge base. This will give you a chance to review the questions and then find out if that's the answer that you want it to say. It came up with 115 Q&A pairs, and now you can create others. So now you can say, who are you? And make it very specific and individual as to what you want this tool or the audience to be. So who are you? People may ask it with who are you? They may also ask it with who with the letter R and the letter U. And don't forget, you might even see people saying, well, who are and then you, YOU question mark. So I did it a few ways, and my answer is going to be very focused on what I want this product to help employees do. So my name is Office 365 FAQ, and I was born in 2019. And really to help provide you answers to your Office 365 products. That's a pretty good answer. I can change it later as well, so I'm not too concerned. The next thing I want to do is save and train. So let's just assume right now I've gone through my questions and all my answers, and I really like them. They are perfect for what the audience is that I want to roll this out to. You always want to make sure after you add a question and an answer, you save and train, and this is really where the magic happens. So let's go ahead and do a test. So let's go ahead and say, well, what is Office 365? One thing I've learned is that people say Office 365 several ways. So I'm actually going to do a little inspection on this question in order to add some more questions. So let's go ahead and add some alternative phrasing. So what is O365? To me, that's probably a pretty common question that I receive. But we may want to ask it many other things that people are familiar with. So commonly, what is 365? Because people may not know there's an O in front of it. So think of your consumers of this chatbot and what would they ask it to get to this specific question? Again, save and train. So making that a habit every time you add more information to your chatbot. So it's been pretty quick to be able to create this Q&A maker knowledge base, 116 questions and answers. So now we want to go ahead and publish. We can't just simply click on publish because we still have our test area open. So that right panel, in order to close that, I've learned through clicking quite around a lot, go ahead and click on test again, and that will go ahead and close the pane. So now let's publish. Important, once you publish, keep this screen open. Extremely important because we're going to need this information later when we create the web app bot. Very important you keep that open. All right, let's go to number 3. Create a web app bot in Azure. So now we need to hightail it back over to Azure, and we need to create the app bot to connect it to channels. So let's go into the marketplace and put in bots. Select web app bot as your item. Scroll down and go ahead and click on create. So again, you're going to see the progress of this deployment in your notifications menu after you fill in the required fields. So let's go ahead and give it a bot name. Again, let's just make it really simple. O365 FAQ. And don't forget, you might have an ID that has a similar name, so I went ahead and put in demo. Take a look. Your resource group you've already created, remember, so that's Q&A demo. Location, keep it close to where you are. And that pricing tier, keep it right in that F. F0 is what I like to start with. You can always change that, but this gives you the chance to figure out what pricing you want to do later. One important piece about creating the web app bot for the Q&A maker is you actually have to create the bot template SDK version. So choose V3 extremely important. That's where you're going to get the option for Q&A for C#. You don't have to know much about this. All you have to know is you have to have the SDK v3 version for Q&A. All right, now you can go ahead and you can make sure you've got the Azure storage. You can create new, put in a name there. Then you can also look at application insight location. Again, every location you choose, you want it to be core to the largest group of people within your organization. So for instance, if you're in Minnesota, you want to stay in the central location. But if the closest is East US for application insight, then make sure you choose that as well. All right, now we can go ahead, click on Create. All of our required fields have been filled in. And like I mentioned earlier, you are going to see the deployment status in your notification bar within Azure. So right up to the right, deployment is in progress. And as well, as you saw earlier, deployment is underway. So I went out to all resources. Now I see all the resources that I've been creating. The lovely thing is it's already created for you. And you don't have to really think much about how they're going to be interacting with each other. You just needed to build them, and now you need to connect them. So we are back now in our O365 FAQ demo web app bot service. And we are in application settings. So as this is being built, that's why you see the three dots right there as it's in status. It will let you know that it'll be finished. But within the application settings, there are three very important keys that we need to add here. A Q&A auth key, a host endpoint ID, and a knowledge base ID. So this is nothing that you need to know about. You just need to know how to copy and paste into this web app service. So remember earlier I had mentioned save that page after you build your knowledge base. It was extremely important because now we need to go out and we need to do some copy and pasting. So right there under knowledge bases, that's actually called a GUID. That would be a series of letters and numbers that you need to copy because that is your knowledge base ID. So go into your knowledge base ID value column and click paste. So it's important that the knowledge base ID has exactly those letters and those numbers. So be sure not to grab the / before or after the GUID. And now we need another GUID. This would be called the endpoint key. So Q&A auth key or Q&A endpoint host name key. So be very clear when you're looking here. You see endpoint key. Well, that's actually the Q&A endpoint key. So be careful of what you copy. You want to make sure that you have it pasted because this is the most important part. The other things we've done, you know, we can make some sort of screw ups and fix them pretty easily, but this is really what connects your service to your knowledge base. So here's the host URL. So your host name, there you go. So that's where you put your host name. That is a URL to your Q&A maker. And the auth key is that series of GUID. So remember your knowledge base ID and your authorization key in Q&A maker. Those are represented by numbers and letters. Those are the three fields to focus on. And I can't stress that enough that nothing will work within your chatbot without those three being connected to your knowledge base. All right, let's go ahead and save. We're going to update our web app settings. And again, that was pretty quick. Added the configurations that were required. Again, show value. I can't stress enough to just review that you do have exactly the Q&A auth key, Q&A endpoint hostname key, and the knowledge base ID from the Q&A Maker service. All right, just reviewing here. And now we'll know for sure by doing this test in the web chat. So down at the bottom, I can ask it a question that lives within that knowledge base that I created. So who are you? And it should return, yep, my name is Office 365 FAQ, and I was born in 2019 to help provide you answers to your Office 365 products. So that test has been confirmed. Maybe we'll ask it another question. What is O365? Which was that alternative phrasing that I had created before. Now let's connect the channels that we want to our knowledge base. So the first thing we want to connect bot to Teams. Right, we want to use that chatbot within Microsoft Teams, and below are going to be the steps. Click on the featured channel, Microsoft Teams. Go ahead and save and agree to the terms. Pretty easy enough, right? And now it's running. So let's click on it again. And what we want to do is go right into Microsoft Teams. So what I've learned is that by doing this, I can use my chatbot within Microsoft Teams. But that's really a personal experience. So let's just make sure that this is working. Who are you? You know, that's my custom Q&A pair that I created. So that looks to be returning the correct response. Again, what is Office 365? Yep, there's the canned response that we can change later. So this is great for personal use. But what I learned is that we really want to create the app for enterprise use in Teams. It really isn't any fun if I'm the only one using it and I need other people to ask it questions so it can learn. So I need to really go out to the Teams store and I need to look for how I'm going to connect it to the enterprise. So I'm going to do that by using the App Studio. And that's creating the Teams app and really launching it for enterprise-wide use. So here I want to set up either a bot or an app. In this case, I want to connect it to a bot. But in order to do that, I need to go onto the second tab called Manifest Editor, and I need to create a new app. This is creating a new app in Microsoft Teams. So I need to fill out, again, the required fields. So much like we did in Azure, just start filling them out. What do you want it to be called? All right, we don't need to do much here. Just generate an app ID. And in the package name and version, you can go ahead and really create whatever you want it to be, but to just stick with canned software app development, let's use a nice naming convention as well as versioning. So at this point, it's really 1.0.0. Now let's enter our short and long description of our app. And this really helps when people are rolling out or adding the app to their team, really what it's about. So really helping them understand what they're going to be deploying. All right, here's some developer information. You could certainly put your name, your company's name, as well as a general website. And then if you do have privacy statement or terms of use that you already use within your own, for instance, if this is for your organization, you could use those terms that already are built in your intranet. So if you have a privacy link and you have a terms of use link, go ahead and just use what already exists today. You can do some branding here. I didn't have anything ready to use, but that's something that I can come back to. Make something really cool for Office 365 FAQ. Maybe I'll use the Office logo and I'll put my company's logo over that, or do something really slick that I can work with my marketing and branding department. All right, now we need to actually go over to bots, and we have to set up the bot to include in this app experience. So it really is an existing bot that we've already created. So as you can see, it's already pre-populated because it all is connected within our suite of products, Office 365 and Azure. The scope here, I want to use it for personal and team use. Now remember, anything that you save and nothing's happening, just make sure all of your fields are filled in. All right, everything looks great. Let's just scroll down a little bit. Personal, teams, you can have specific commands. Let's go ahead and test and distribute. So what we need to do in this third step here in the Manifest Editor tab, to finish creating our bot and connecting it, we need to install our app in Teams for testing. I can add it to a specific team, which I would like to do. I really only want to use it here in my Office 365 team for testing. And then we can decide on where else we would like to roll it out. Okay, now as you can see, Office 365 FAQ has been connected to Teams. Now let's go ahead and do number 6. Connect your bot to Outlook. This one's really interesting. There really isn't a ton to do here. It's probably the simplest information chatbot to connect to for this specific channel. Really all we need is email and the email password. I made it pretty simple. I called it O365 FAQ at my domain. And then I added the password to that email address. So very specific to this chatbot. You can call it many things, but I wanted to be very specific that when somebody's emailing, they're going to the O365 FAQ chatbot. All right, and after you hit save, let's go over to Outlook. Let's test our email address to see if it will return questions that are in my knowledge base through an email. So I'm going to go ahead and say new email. All right, go to the O365 FAQ. All right, my subject, O365 help. And what is O365? Question mark. So I'm going to go ahead and send that out. Let's just see how quick it returns. All right, getting nervous. Will it work? And there you go. I already got my response. What was that, 10 seconds? So I can email out to an email address that the knowledge base is talking to, and it received the question into the knowledge base and returned the response of the answer that connected to that question. That can be really interesting, especially I can think of quite a few scenarios within my own organization that this might be helpful. So now let's go ahead and focus on SharePoint. What I've learned is that we need to really prepare SharePoint to use the bot. So a couple gotchas along the way of really trying to add within SharePoint Online. So mind you, this is a modern site in SharePoint Online. There are some configurations that we need to allow in order for a chatbot to be displayed in an iframe within your site. So we need to go to Site Information. Really, we need to go to Site Settings, but that's how we now have to get to it. So viewing all Site Settings. And over on the left-hand side in the Site Collection Administration section, there's a link for HTML Field Security. This is really important because this is where you have to say, hey, we need to add the Azure URL to the allowed iframes from this domain. It's not there yet out of the box. I'm not sure when it's going to be added, but I strongly suggest that we add this to user voice and try to vote it up. So the URL, webchat.botframework.com, is now added. As you can see there, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and hope that it saves. All right, here's the support.office.com article on allowing or restricting the ability to embed content on SharePoint pages. So going back to HTML field security, that's a setting within Site Settings under the Site Collection Administration area. As you can see here, we need to allow the contributors to insert iframes within their SharePoint site. So if you are creating another site collection, you have to add it to that site collection as well. So let's just scroll down and make sure that it actually stuck. All right, there it is, webchat.botframework.com. So if we plan to do that in another site collection, be sure you need to do this again. So another gotcha I learned in this process is I need to actually change a setting in SharePoint Admin Portal. And I had a difficult time trying to find it in the modern view. So I do need to go out to the SharePoint Admin Portal and I need to go back to the classic view. It wasn't obvious to me, so I just really went back to classic since I know that area so well and I knew where to find it. So I'm in M365 Admin Portal. I selected the SharePoint Admin Portal, and now that's opening up. I have it opening up in the new modern view, and I just went ahead and said, hey, just show me classic. I can get to it quickly. I'm going to the settings. Now this is a little controversial, and I'm sure many of you out there will have opinions on this because it's a big deal. But what we need to do is make a change. And we need to make a change to the section for custom script. It's the second one there. It says allow users to run custom script on self-service created sites. Okay, just to let you know, you do have to allow your users to run the custom script. That can cause questions around security and permissions, but I would definitely work with your governance board and your admins and your users to make sure they really understand what they're doing. All right, the second one, or the eighth one, I'm sorry, is add bot to SharePoint Online. So this is where we've done our two gotchas in the site collection. All we need here is in configure web chat is we need to just grab one of these keys. It doesn't matter which one. They create two for you. And then you do need the iframe. So again, you don't have to know the code, but what you have to do is you have to know where to put your secret key. So I've opened up handy dandy notepad. I have pasted my secret key, and then I copied the code of the iframe, and I pasted that in as well. Next, I copied my code, my secret key, and I very carefully am only highlighting your underscore secret underscore here. That's where you paste your key. Be sure not to lose your last tags or your equal sign before. All right, let's go ahead and copy our iframe. We should now be able to feel good that we only need that particular iframe code, and then we need to go into a SharePoint Modern site, edit the site, and go ahead and add that embed code. Should be pretty simple. All right, usually when I get into edit, I would like to really see this section not in 3 columns or 2 columns. I'm just going to see the whole breadth of the page. So I'm going to edit the section, just create 1 column, make it really simple. And now I want to go ahead and add my embed web part. So I clicked on the plus sign, and now right over here I can copy and paste my iframe code. But wait, something keeps happening. It's not sticking. In other words, it's not saving. So when I paste that from my notepad, what I learned again through just going back and forth is that in the iframe embed code, it's not quite correct. You need the height and width added outside of your style tag. So if you look there, iframe width and height, that was missing from my embed code. So I hope that within the Azure service and within the Chatbot that they fix that iframe, because that can be really hard and difficult to learn that you need this, and that's the only way the iframe code will work. But now that you're watching this video, you've learned that, hey, go ahead and add the height and width, copy the code again, paste it within here, and there you have it. Now you have your chatbot connected to SharePoint. So let's go ahead and publish. We can play around with that width and height. Certainly you don't want somebody scrolling down to ask a question, so you may want to change that, and you can do that anytime. All right, let's see if it works. How are you? We're going to see if it's using our professional response from our chit chat. Great, thanks. Okay, good. Now let's ask it something from our knowledge base. Who are you? All right, my name is Office 365 FAQ, born in 2019. This is great. And what is Office 365? Perfect. In this session, you have seen how to create a Q&A Maker service in Azure, then go into the Q&A Maker service, create and publish a knowledge base. Next, head back over to Azure and create a web app bot, and connect that bot to Microsoft Teams, Outlook, and SharePoint. And we also worked through some gotchas. Thank you for attending this session, and I hope you learned a lot. Here's all the wonderful resources I used to be able to create the chatbot today.